I want to thank everybody for tuning back in to our 2025 Montgomery County Football Media Day. We're in the home stretch. We're now joined by Kenwood head coach Jarhett Snead and senior lineman Carlos Ransom. Guys, first of all, I just want to say thank you guys for doing this. It means a lot that you guys were able to come out and help us put some content out for all the fans and stuff going into this year. But, Coach, I kind of just want to get right into it. 3-7 last year. You've been at Kenwood a couple of years now. Coming off last season, you guys had that stretch where, you lost maybe 4 or 5 to open the year. Then you had, I think it was a 3-game winning streak, beat Dixon, teams like that. Just coming into this year, coming off last year, what does progress look like for you guys, do you think?
Well, I mean, for one, we learned last year, it doesn't matter how athletic you are, you got to take care of the football. You have to take care of the football. That 3-game stretch we went on, one of the biggest differences was we took care of the football. But then going back into Kirkwood, going back to Rossview, we started back turning the ball over. In order to beat good teams, you got to protect the football. We learned, with FRA, turnovers, it got ugly. Clarksville High, turnovers, it got ugly. East Nashville, turnovers, it got ugly. Same thing with Hillsborough. Hillsborough, we were actually up. But like I said, if you don't take care of the football, you're not going to win football games. And that's exactly what happened with those games. So focus going in this year is making sure we protect the football. In order to win games, you have to execute and then just do your job. Control your attitude and effort and let everything else happen. Whatever happens, happens.
Out of those 3 games you guys won, I was at the game you guys beat Dixon County at home, beat them pretty handily. You had a couple drives where you kicked it off and special teams made a play for you. You got the ball back, inside, midfield, maybe 2 or 3 possessions in a row, and were able to go down and score. I think Josiah, Jacoby, Cox, Josiah Brown, put in a couple scores. Would you say that, at your best, that was kind of the ceiling for last year's team, what that team was intended to look like?
I mean, absolutely. We want to run the ball. As good as Jacoby was with his arm, as talented as he is, we want to run the ball. We want to establish the run. If you can establish a run, you can control the game a lot more than if you have to pass every down. And we want to be a heavy run team. It's just some games didn't work out the way we wanted it to. Just so having that game, it worked out.
Then, Carlos, coming into the season, you guys have got 18 seniors on the roster. When you guys have, a big senior group like that, guys that have been in the system for multiple years, does that kind of help you guys become more of a tight-knit group, kind of build that continuity?
I would say so, because a lot of the times we'll have plays, like sometimes for other teams, it might be like a little busted, but because we've been together for 4 years now, there's a lot of confidence in each other, and you can see the teamwork and the camaraderie. Like Sauce, our quarterback now, he has a lot of times he'll just run up the middle right behind me and Freddie, or even around the edge around Johan, because he just trusts us. He knows that we'll get a block for him and we'll make sure he's safe. When
you can have teams like that where you guys have played with each other for a long time, you guys have that continuity, even though you've had probably not the records that you've wanted to put up, does that kind of help you guys play maybe a little bit more looser, play with a little bit more confidence?
I would say so. Of course it sucks that we lose and stuff, but we still have confidence in each other. We still believe that we can go out there and do what we need to do, and with that, we can still push through the adversity that we face through the games, and we can trust our teammates to go do their part, we do our part, and work together and hope for the best in the end.
You got 6 starters coming back on offense, 5 on defense. You bring back most of the offense. Probably going to have to find some guys to fill those roles on defense. Just what's the offseason process been like for you in terms of filling those roles for those guys?
Well, here's the crazy part about it. Last year, some of the guys that are starting this year could have started last year. They just could not beat out the person in front of them. It wasn't because they weren't, good enough to start. They just couldn't beat out the person in front of them that had been there for longer, been in the system longer. That's what it boiled down to. So a lot of guys that are starting this year had the opportunity to get some reps last year, just like the seniors in front of them were those guys. So when you look at Devon Mark, when you look at Cameron Dow, you look at Malcolm Calhoun, those guys were with me 4 years. Even when Coach Greer was there, they were here then as well. So they understand how a football program is supposed to be built. They had already bought in and had been with them for so long and had that trust with them the same way I have those trust with this upcoming group now. So it's hard to replace them, but next man up, we got to get you ready. As a head coach, you understand that you only have these guys 4 years and you have to make life without them regardless. The game got to go on.
When you guys have had, the last couple seasons, like you've had, obviously not the records that you probably wanted to put up. When you go, when one season ends and you start preparing for the next, are you tweaking stuff in the off season, just trying to find different ways to go about things?
I mean, absolutely. Like I said, what we did last year with Jacoby, you already knew that air raid was dangerous because of how strong of an arm he had. Whereas this year, we don't have that. I mean, you have to coach based off of who you have. I would love to run a wishbone double tight, but I don't have the personnel to do that. So, I mean, you have to cater what you do around the players you have and cater to what they're good at. That's the big thing with coaching. You got to teach your kids and put them in a system that works for them.
Like you said, you got to coach based on what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Is this year's Kenwood team going to look similar or different than last year's Kenwood team?
You'll see a little bit of both. We still want to establish the run. We can still pass. Just the difference is you won't see that many go balls like you saw the past 3 years. I mean, last year at any given time, we can throw a backside 9 or a backside post, and that ball is going to be on the money. Whereas this year, not so much. We had to work a lot more quick game than we did as far as last year.
Jacoby Cox graduated. He was your quarterback. Mm-hmm. He's probably the best dual threat quarterback in the county last year, just in terms of, pure athlete, pure skill, things like that. Who are you looking at to kind of fill that quarterback spot for you?
Well, like I said, Christian James, we call him Sauce. He stepped into that role. We knew, Jacoby being a senior, like, hey, he's not going to be here forever. So we have to look at, in the future, what do we do when he's gone? And so once the year was over with, coaches and I got together, we looked at, okay, these are the guys we know who are coming back. If push comes to shove, if one of these guys has to fill in and play quarterback, who would it be? And it was Christian James. That's what we kind of unanimously came up with. And even as far as the team, we all have team meetings. When I meet with my seniors, I allow them to speak freely because at the end of the day, I'm just a coach, but it's their team. So, they have to buy in as well. So they have to have stock in what we do. And their input is just as important as mine because they have to play, not me. And so even with them, hey, like he said before, that they trust Christian. These are all 4-year guys. They've been together since they were freshmen. And so they have that trust, they have that continuity, and just use that. And let's go out here, roll the ball out, see what we can do.
Carlos, when coach puts that kind of trust in you guys to where he has that trust in you guys to make decisions for yourself and have input on things and stuff like that, does that kind of help build your relationship with coach in terms of he has that trust in me, now I can kind of play a little bit more loose?
I would say so. I say our team, between us and Coach Snead, there's a good relationship there. It wouldn't be like the same relationship as like some other teams have with their coach, but I say I mess with it personally because we can speak freely. He speaks freely to us, and we work together to mesh and stuff. Like there are a lot of times the seniors, even myself, we'll speak up and say some things sometimes, and we'll think that it's like the right thing to say at the time, and then he'll point out like what was wrong, and be like, he'll point out, this is what I do the thinking and y'all do the playing, and it makes sense because sometimes I'm not too smart when it comes to football. I'm smart.
Oh, school. Come on, man. Come on now.
Like I personally don't watch football. I just play it. So like I say some stuff, and I'm thinking this makes so much sense, and then he'll point out that's exactly what the play was, and I just wasn't paying attention. So it's a little funny.
Don't let him lie to you. He's a 5-sport athlete. Was it 26 on your ACT?
Yes, sir. 26
on his ACT. I mean, he's a brilliant kid. I love this kid to death. Like I said, seeing his growth these past 4 years, don't let him play you. This is a 5-sport athlete. Literally, spring practice, I said, listen, you're not touching anybody. The only thing you're doing is your therapy, your ice bath, you lift a little bit, but take a break. Your body needs to rest. And that goes back to the relationship we have. I care more about your future than I care about you playing right now. You play 5 sports. You have not had a break since we got back from dead period in July of 2023. You go straight from football into wrestling, in the track, into soccer, into bowling. Just let your body rest. There's no sport going right now, just rest. He didn't like it too much, but he had to do it.
Carlos, when you have players like yourself that, like you said, only play football, you don't watch it, is it easier or harder to kind of pick up on things, not necessarily scheme-wise, but, kind of figure out what you're supposed to be doing out there?
I would say so, because I'm not thinking about the greater scheme of things. Like, I don't know what else to do. You know what I mean? So I have to listen. I have to do what they tell me. It's not an option. Like, we have certain rules that we have to follow when we go through blocking schemes and stuff like that. And I think it might be easier for me to follow stuff like that because I don't know anything different. I have to follow that. It's all I have. So there's not another thought in my head. And I think that helps a little.
Going into the off season, Jacoby graduated, a lot of your production on both sides graduated. Were there things going into the off season where you said we absolutely have to be better at this for next year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, 100%. One of the big things, like I said, turning the ball over. A lot of picks Jacoby had wasn't on him. It's because the ball hit the receiver in both hands and he didn't bring it in. So, I mean, the ball hit both hands, you got to catch it. There's no excuses. Regardless of a missed block, missed assignment, there is no excuse putting the ball on the ground. I think it was West Creek. We had 8 turnovers. And that wasn't even from Jacoby. That was from, Josiah Brown. That was from Cameron Dow. That was from Jay Davis, guys that we count to make plays that put the ball on the ground. There's no excuse for that. If you do what your coach do, that ball doesn't get on the ground. So, I mean, going in, we know we got to protect the football. We cannot win a game with multiple turnovers. We have to protect the football. I don't care who's your quarterback, how good your running back is, how good your O-line is, how good any player is. If you don't protect the football, you're not going to be able to win games.
Would you say that was the biggest difference, in games like you said, the West Creek game, to where, you might have given yourself a chance to win the game or even just stay in the game? Would you say that, turnovers were probably that biggest thing that kept you guys from having a lot better season than you expected?
Absolutely. I mean, you lose a game by a touchdown, but you have 7 turnovers. I mean, when you look at those two things, those drive killers. Turnovers are drive killers. You have momentum, you're moving, put the ball on the ground. It kills drive. As a matter of fact, I remember specifically 2 of the fumbles from that West Creek game. One of them was both of them were first downs, actually. Even against the Northwest, Jay caught a pass across the middle, was trying to break free, fumbled the ball after getting the first down. I mean, those are drive killers. You can't have that. So we got to make sure we emphasize protecting the football and doing our job. Like I said, I preach to my guys, as long as you control your attitude and effort, whatever happens after that, happens after that. But you control those 2 things at all times.
Carlos, from a player perspective, Coach obviously isn't out there running the reps with you guys, but from a player perspective, what would you say, or how much growth would you say you guys have had this offseason just in terms of not only getting better, but kind of creating that bond among each other?
I would say there's a big improvement because from being the center, I see a lot that goes on in the middle, at least, and I can tell our run game is improved a lot. Like, we can actively move the ball. We can get the 3 or 4 yards we need every play. Compared to last year, a lot of the time, the ball might not make it past the line of scrimmage, and we'd be struggling. And it's good that we can make that happen. We can even pass the ball if we need to, stuff like that. I'm just glad my guys are able to push through it. We conditioned and stuff. We worked hard through the summer together so that we're able to make the plays work, because without pushing each other throughout the summer, we wouldn't be conditioned. We wouldn't be able to play all the drives we need to play, and we'd have to rely on some of our younger guys, which is okay. But sometimes we can't. It's needed.
You bring back Josiah Brown, running back linebacker from last year. If you can, kind of get that offensive line shored up, especially with the season that Josiah had last year in the backfield, he's probably able to win you some games by himself. If you can get the offensive line short up to where create some holes for him. How much of a head start on offense does that give you when you have him back there, even though you do have to find a new quarterback?
I mean, Josiah, when I say he's one of the heartbeats of our team, he is 100% the heartbeat. When he talks, everybody listens. When he's enthused, when he's intense, when he's leading, we follow. And a lot of times what we realized last year is he sets the tone for how the game's going to be. Like I said, when he comes out and he has mass enthusiasm, he's flying around the field, his teammates are going to follow. And they feed off his energy. And that's why I say he's the heartbeat of our team, or one of our heartbeats, because like I said, we feed off his energy. His energy is very contagious. When he's high energy, as a team, we're high energy.
How important is it to have guys like that where, even if there's nights where, some guys might not have it, you have a guy that you can count on that whether you're 0-10 or 10-0, he's going to bring it every night.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. 4th and 1, we already know what we're going to do. Hey, Josiah, go on your shoulders. What you want to do? You want to lead your team? We sink or swim. What you want to do? We call it. You got to have guys like that. Hey, we need 1 yard to keep this drive going. Who's that guy that's going to be able to make it happen? Can you rally your team around you? Can you lead effectively? One thing we talk about is leadership. You have some leaders that aren't very good, but in order to be an effective leader, you have to lead by example. And he's one of those guys that leads by example. He works hard in the weight room. He conditions well. In practice, he's flying around. And like I said, it's contagious, and especially when you have younger guys. When younger guys can feed off of energy as well. So now when these young guys have been in the program, 2 or 3 years, we pick right up, and there's no huge fall off.
Looking at your schedule, you open at Hillsboro, then you go to White House Heritage, Kirkwood at home, then you go to West Creek. You have Pearl Cone at home, then you're at Northwest, Maplewood at home, Northeast at home. Then you finish the season at Henry County and at Dixon County. That 3-game stretch to open the season, at Hillsboro, at White House Heritage, and Kirkwood at home, that's probably going to, set the bar for kind of judging, where you're at, wouldn't you think?
I mean, absolutely. But, at the end of the day, all we can do is control our attitude and effort. I don't care who's not up across from you. You got to control your attitude and your effort. Tough teams. But even like you saw last year, we dropped our first 5 and won the next 3. And had a chance to win, go start off losing 5 and finish winning 5. But at the end of the day, we just play football. Whatever's going to happen, but you got to control your attitude and effort, and you got to take care of football.
Moved down to Class 5A from 6A the last couple of years. It's essentially the same region that you were in last year, minus Clarksville, Rossview, and West Creek. You add Henry County, but outside of that, it's teams that you're familiar with. Do you think that kind of helps you in terms of preparation wise and things like that?
It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah.
Because yes, we know with some teams we know what it's going to do, but it's a curse because we still got to prepare for it. Regardless of who you play, you still have to prepare. We know certain teams have a reputation, they want to pound it down your throat. You prepare for that, but you still got to prepare for the miscellaneous things that you're not sure about, the unsureties and whatnot. But that's why our preparation has to improve. Regardless of who you play, you still got to prepare Monday through Thursday for that team. I tell my guys, you win games with your preparation. Friday is just the culmination of your preparation. But you got to go hard Monday through Thursday if you want to win on Fridays.
Carlos, you guys had your first scrimmage of the year last night against Montgomery Central. Just from a player perspective, how do you think you guys looked last night?
I think we looked a lot better than we did last year when it comes to the run game, at least. The run game, we were able to push down the field, had consistency for the most part. And then, of course, we had some bad penalties, but we pushed through them, unlike we would have did last year. Last year, if we got penalties, we probably would have shut down a little, and our game would have declined. But we pushed through it. We came right back, did the same thing over again, and it worked the second time. So I think that's the thing that we have to do throughout the year. We have to make sure we keep our heads up. We have to make sure we keep pushing through the adversity and don't let it get to us so that we don't decline our game and throw games away because we're in our own heads.
Is that perseverance something that you guys have kind of worked on in between last season and now?
I would say so. I think having a lot of trust in your teammates changes that a lot. Like a lot of our team, at least varsity, is a lot of the older guys. So we've been here, we've been through it, and it helps with the perseverance a little. We don't have to. We kind of have little mistakes here and there, but it helps that we've already done it and we can push through it because we've dealt with it in the past.
Coach, relative to expectations, where you are right now, how close is that to where you expect it to be right now?
I mean, that bar always changed. At one point, I was like, okay, we're moving in a positive direction. And then we have a heat wave where we're inside for a whole week. I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, going in yesterday, I was worried because, Wednesday was the first time we got outside, and we only get outside for, right at an hour. Thursday was a little bit better, but, I didn't want to do a lot of hitting on Thursday because we had to get ready for Friday. So Thursday we were able to get outside and get some walkthroughs and stuff in. But, reps, everything's about reps. And the less reps you have, the more I worry. And I was worried coming in like yesterday, we didn't have enough reps, but, they did okay though. But it's still about your preparation.
Obviously, like we said, the potential was there last year to have a better season than what you had. Still managed to win those 3 games, toward the end, like you said, had a chance to win the last 2, finish 5-5 potentially. But, going into this year, what does a successful season look like in your mind?
I mean, growth. Can you track growth? A lot of times your record does not always entail growth. But like, piggyback on what Carlos had said yesterday, we had some things happen that last year before last, we would have put our head down. But learning how to fight through adversity. A football game, there's going to be highs and lows, it's ups and downs. And you have to be able to move past those. Like I said, prime example, East Nashville last year, we came out in the third quarter. I think we were down 20-13. We came out in the third quarter, and I mean, a beautiful, beautiful drive. I mean, we start at our own 5-6 yard line, and we march the ball downfield, but then throw a pick on 1st and goal. And after that, the team sunk. You felt our energy drop. And from there, it went from 20-13 to 40-13, just like that. Whereas this group this year, I'm hoping, showing growth. When bad things happen, we're able to bounce back from it. We're able to show adversity. We're able to show that, regardless of what happens, our energy is going to stay the same. And we control our attitude and our effort. Regardless of what happens, our effort is at a certain level.
How do you think that, not only you as coaches, but kind of instilling that on the players, how do you think you guys kind of go about instilling that perseverance to where you can be like, guys, it's okay. One mistake is not going to cost us most of the time. We can still kind of work past this. How do you go about, kind of instilling that to where the guys actually believe it and they can go out there and, still kind of put up an effort?
I mean, it's more than football from that standpoint. One thing I tell them in life, you're going to make mistakes. But what happens, the most important part is what you do after that mistake. As you matriculate, as you become young men, as you become fathers, as you become husbands, as you become leaders of your family, you're gonna make mistakes. But what's important is what you do after that mistake. How do you bounce back from that mistake? I look at with my family. If my daughter comes to me with a problem, she's expecting me to solve that problem. Sometimes my solution might not be the right solution, but you still continue to get better and try to get better at solving problems. And so I try to teach them that this is a microcosm of what you will face in life. What you do after the mistake is what's most important. And keeping your head up, fighting through adversity. I don't want to see you moping around, put your head down. You keep your head up, you poke your chest out, next play. The most important play is the next play. The most important rep is the next rep. The most important practice is the next practice. And as long as we keep doing that, as you do that through high school, that means when you become a grown man, it's a little bit easier.
I want to thank Coach Snead and Carlos for joining me as we continue our 2025 Montgomery County Football Media Day. You can check out the Knights this fall, and you can check out all of our high school football coverage at mainstreetclarksville.com.